Namaskar and a very warm welcome to Awaken India. Today is the debut episode of the Awaken India minicast. The minicast is a set of mini podcasts wherein we at Awaken India interview different people from different walks of life who are all tied together by the thread of India and her beautiful diverse culture. Today, we have with us one of the first members who joined us after our launch, Arin Moghe. Arin is currently pursuing a degree in bioengineering from India's premier engineering institute, IIT Madras. He is a mathematics enthusiast and loves to read about mythology from all over the world. He is being interviewed by Varad Kudav, the founder of Awaken India. Varad likes to call himself as an old-fashioned cultural enthusiast, and he is currently in his freshman year at the prestigious Gokhale Institute pursuing a degree in economics. Today's discussion is centered around Arin's article, Mahabharata in Our Life. I really hope you enjoy this episode. The Awaken India minicast is ready to roll in 3, 2, 1.
So, first of all, a very good afternoon, Arin, and my sincere thanks to you for coming for this interview from your busy schedule. Um, and more importantly, a special shout out to you for a lovely article that you have contributed to our website titled Mahabharata in Our Lives, which is, by the way, one of our website's most read articles. A request to all our viewers to absolutely go check it out through the link in our description. And with that being said, without further ado, let's start with our interview. So, Arin, as was discussed with you previously, my questions may seem a bit oriented towards your article, but feel free to add in your own personal experiences and outlooks as per your liking. With
Sure.
that, my first question for you today is why did you choose the title Mahabharata in Our Lives as the name of your article? And what parts of the epic did you feel resonated most with your day to day life?
Okay, so the reason I chose Mahabharata Lives as my title is that most people have a notion that the Mahabharata doesn't have many practical contributions. It's only a piece of literature. I went ahead this because I wanted to shed light on a relatively untouched view. Along with that, I feel the negative emotions that the people in Mahabharata feel is often visible in people today, be it Duryodhan's jealousy, Karna's embarrassment and feelings of being an outcast, Draupadi's humiliation, and Arjun's rage against Jayadratha for the death of his son. We can all relate to it on some level. It may be destructive for some, but others do understand it developing and can harness it and deal with it.
Great, thank you, Arin. That's actually a wonderful take on it. Definitely, some of the chapters, episodes, and characters from Mahabharata make us feel that Mahabharata, on some level, even reflects in our day-to-day life. And thanks for putting that out so aptly. Uh, Now, let's proceed with the next question. How do you think can the youth of India view Mahabharata as an inspiration in today's modern way of life?
I think the youth see the courage of the characters in Mahabharata. In tough times, we're often unable to determine a future course of action. The Mahabharata does give us direction, but we need to be firm in our thought process. We can look at the Panda fighting their own family and teacher and prevailing, or Bhim sacrificing his own son Ghatotkacha. Only if one understands what they are doing can they actually move ahead and will not retrace their steps out of doubt.
Mhm. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that. Even if we were to relate what you responded right now to the current Indian scenario, we can see that many people in India, especially the youth, is not willing to take enough courage when it comes to pursuing their ideas in a young age, which is also perhaps the reason why we have such a flourishing service sector and employees which work for big MNCs throughout the world, but not enough businesses coming up within India. Of course, the times are now changing, and uh, if we view Mahabharat as an inspiration in the aspect that you just suggested, it would definitely help uh, in the prosperity of our country.
True.
Uh, yeah. Now, for my next question, what can we as a youth community uh, do to help the Gen Z, including ourselves, of course, appreciate and incorporate the teachings of Mahabharat in our evolving lifestyle? Can Mahabharat act as a guide for our generation to simplify our unnecessarily complex outlook towards the world?
So I feel we ourselves need to show how the Mahabharata has impacted us. If maybe we can give a glimpse to others of what this epic teaches, or how we have changed ourselves, it will make others inquisitive too. Along with that, being open and seeing what else others may have to offer also creates a flourishing barter network. Here, both parties would sustain each other and create a productive and symbiotic relationship. And as for the second part, the world is a bit of a complex place, and as we grow up and become more mature, our views evolve, we see and think more. A complex outlook really is inevitable, but this does create confusion and apprehension. The Mahabharata and Bhagavad Gita do elaborate on this, showing us parts of our life much beyond childish innocence and ignorance. But if we rise from the bottom of this muddy water towards the light we're curious about, the water starts to clear up and we know what lies ahead and what we must do. And now we carry a certain sense of conviction with us.
Great. Thank you so much, Arin. Again, a follow-up question on this. So, can you suggest certain chapters from the Mahabharata if you can, and how they have helped you to simplify your outlook towards your day-to-day activities?
Okay, so first chapter is really the Bhagavad Gita, which is when Krishna explains to Arjun the duty of man dharma of life. And this is just before the Great War, which actually gives Arjun the boost he needed just before the war to actually carry ahead with his brothers and win. I would also say other chapters are the early is other chapters regarding the early life of the Pandavas, especially their training under Dronacharya, because there's a lot of lessons to be learned from there actually. And if you're open to it, if you're actually reading everything that there is to read, you'll see there's a lot more to learn.
Great. Thank you so much. Um, Now let's proceed with the next question. If you were to describe Mahabharata in one word, what would the word precisely be?
I would say the Mahabharata is translucent. It sometimes demands us to read between the lines to understand it, but still it leaves enough clues to educate us. So, while I was preparing for my JEE examination, at one point I lost all my motivation and had no desire to move ahead. I suddenly remembered Arjun's mindset while performing archery. His focus was only on the target, he only saw the apple. This single mindedness struck me, and I remembered my goal of cracking JEE. With my energy restored, I was able to trek ahead. This is not exactly preached by the Mahabharata, but this anecdote is well mentioned, knowing that we will eventually understand it.
Great. I think that's a very interesting take because I personally the word that comes to my mind when I think of Mahabharata is dharma. But that is something which is really a very common notion mentioned throughout the epic. But your understanding and your personal experience with respect to the translucent flavor that Mahabharata offers is quite unique and something which we really should ponder upon. So thank you so much for introducing the newer aspect into this interview. After a thorough comprehension of various chapters of the Mahabharata, can you really witness the universal presence of dharma as discussed in the epic in whatever day-to-day undertakings that you take?
Certainly, on a much different scale, a lot of daily events bear resemblance to incidents in the Mahabharata. Sometimes we bottle up our feelings, anxiety, resentment, frustration, and eventually they just come out fizzing violently. Often we're just inches away to actually improving our situation. Maybe we have to make a decision regarding an everyday event or just try to calm our nerves. But due to attachment of some kind, moho, or an untimely impulse, we keep moving ahead on a breaking bridge. For example, we can keep in mind the stories of Dhritarashtra leaving his kingdom in renunciation, or Yudhishthir gambling away his family. These are different sides of good and bad decisions. These examples can guide our thought process and decisions amidst an ever changing world.
Yeah, well, that's quite apt and quite crisp way to answer the complex question that I just asked you. Uh, just a bit of a clarity on this topic. Um, Now, within the Mahabharata, you know that there are some incidents where Krishna himself advised the Pandavas to go beyond the known ethics and do certain things which would classify as adharma, but it was for a larger good. For example, he suggested Bhim to attack Duryodhan on the thigh, which was technically unethical during the mace fight. Or he motivated Yudhishthir to really not lie in the certain sense, but to tell a half truth when it came to the killing of, or whether when it came to the episode of killing Dronacharya in the Battle of Kurukshetra. So, do you feel that in a broader sense, it's good to, or it's not really good, but is it beneficial that we sometimes stretch a bit beyond the ethical limits just for the larger good?
This is a bit of an ethical dilemma that I feel we encounter a lot in our daily lives and often in literature also. And we really need to think about it a lot. So I'd like to refer to another example of the Mahabharata, specifically Draupadi's disrobing. The reason nobody in the court objected to this was because they all believed it was within the confines of dharma. They thought that had gambled his kingdom away willingly, and Duryodhan was actually free to practice whatever he wanted to do. And actually, they were not exactly wrong. They were right in a way. But the problem is, in the process that everybody was following dharma, they all created an even larger adharma. So I feel that definitely sometimes ethics is not it doesn't lie along a straight line. It sometimes loops, and we certainly do need to take decisions where we go along a different path. We take and but eventually we must but, and eventually we come along to the correct path only to prevent and serve the larger good, the greater good.
And again, if you see Krishna's situation, his entire clan was completely destroyed because of Gandhari's curse to him. Although and that was kind of the um, consequence that he faced for practicing wrong ethics during the war, although he did it for a greater good. So again, I agree with you that although we don't really always go on an ethical line, we will still face the consequences for our actions. Uh, Arin, my final question for you for the day is that, and again, this makes me a bit selfish while asking it because I'm directing this question towards Awaken India. What would your advice be to the Awaken India community to achieve its objectives of imbibing the spirit of Indian culture among youth based on your extraordinary understanding of values and principles from Mahabharata?
Right. So Hanuman, he's usually seen as an important character in another epic, Ramayana, but he actually has an important role in the Mahabharata of steering Bhim and Arjun in the correct direction. He is known for two of his attributes. The first being his fervent devotion to Lord Ram and his strength. Similarly, if we stick to our goal of bringing forth the raw and powerful form of India, we can derive a strength from it and stride ahead. I think this is where we as Awaken India can take inspiration from the Mahabharata.
Great, that's really a good advice, and definitely we should all follow this. And again, a beautiful way to really interconnect Ramayana and Mahabharata through this answer. Really appreciate that. Uh, so thank you so much, Arin, for your excellent insights on Mahabharata and also the contribution of your article. I would really urge all of our viewers to go check it out. The link is in our description. Uh, and with that, Arin, of course, with your permission, we can end this discussion. Whatever other notes or remarks you want to add, you are free to do so. And if any other suggestions and feedback you want to give to me as an interviewer and to our whole community, our youth community and our agenda.
Well, I don't have much to say, but I really enjoyed this interview, so thanks for inviting me. Your questions really were pretty good. They made me really dig in deep in my mind. So it was pretty great, and thank you for having me, and I hope this will be good.
Sure, Arin. Thank you so much.
Yes,
So with that, we can close this interview. Thank you so much for joining us today and have a good day.
yes, of course. Same to you.